Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Abominations in Technicolor, the podcast where we review the overlooked, underrated, and critically panned films of the past in a new light. This is the 50th episode of Abominations in Technicolor, and I can't believe we've made it this far. We've been chugging along, all of the movies that we've covered on this podcast. What a strange array of films that we've done on this show. A little bit later, we'll be reviewing Speed 2 Cruise Control. And I can't do that by myself, so joining me as always is Adam. How's it going, Adam?
That's right. It's going good. I didn't even know it was 50, so
yeah,
this is exciting. I think we lucked out and picked a good one for this week. So
yeah, man. I know, it's crazy. 50
milestone.
Episodes. So I think the first one I did was June of last year. So we've taken some breaks. I had a kid in April, and I took like a month off or so around that time, and then throw in the holidays. So I don't know. There's like 6 weeks where I think we didn't have an episode,
right.
But still, that's a pretty good track record if you ask me.
That's right.
50 episodes. That's a lot of content, man. Averaging an hour to an hour and a half per episode. That's a lot of content right there. So,
and we're just getting started. There's still a lot out there. There's a lot of movies.
True. Yeah,
they just keep pumping them out. So we're always fully loaded.
We've just scratched the surface, but
right.
Let's get ready to do it. Like I said, right up at the top, we're talking Speed 2 Cruise Control. So here's our review.
Oh, you're back again.
Yeah, I wanted to make up for last week. Sorry, Mr. Kent, but that bus was going way too fast.
Your boyfriend drive like this?
Oh, Alex, no. Alex is so completely different.
You are officially on vacation.
I was going to surprise you tonight, but it's a cruise. Caribbean.
Since we last saw Annie, some things have changed.
This almost seems too perfect, doesn't it?
Some things
Want me to step on your feet?
haven't.
Swear I am never leaving the house again.
Now they can't change course.
Seems odd.
Yes, it is odd. They're abandoning ship in the middle of the night.
They can't stop,
LAPD. Your what? Somebody find the captain.
and they can't
The captain is dead.
get off.
Who is running the ship? Oh, yeah. I am.
A position charges throughout the ship.
Where is he?
He's everywhere.
I've been in worse situations than this, and panicking does not help. Trust me.
I know who you are.
I know you too. How are you gonna stop me now, my friend?
That was odd.
What kind of cop are you? You're gonna get us all killed.
This summer,
He's taking us right into an oil tanker.
Man!
if you didn't catch the bus,
Oh, let's bust the transmission like a car, because I've done that.
you won't want to miss
Annie!
the boat.
We're gonna crash! You gotta stop the ship!
You slowed it down, but you're not going to stop her. Speed 2 Cruise Control.
How do you like your vacation so far? Man, I just bought a condo here.
All right, man. Talk about a trailer that gives you the whole movie. Holy cow.
yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
they even show the ending pretty much. You see it crashing, so you know it's coming. All right, everybody. So we all just watched Speed 2, so let's talk about it. It's a cute idea. So Speed 2 Cruise Control, 1997. What a year. This one in the box office. Yeah, this one in the box office did 48.6 million domestic, 116 million worldwide. The only downside is that the budget was $160 million. So,
oh my God.
I think that's right up there with
Holy
Indiana
shit.
Jones. This is Spielberg movie caliber budget.
Holy, I didn't realize that. That's insane.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
it costs a lot of money to blow up oil barges, apparently, I think,
wow.
Or freighters or whatever you call them.
That is crazy. I never would have thought Speed 2 would have cost $160 million.
Yeah, this was the 40th highest grossing film of 1997.
Ooh.
So didn't do so hot. Other movies that did do much better were movies like Titanic, Men in Black, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, Liar Liar, Air Force One, and Good Will Hunting snagged an Oscar for Matt Damon.
I just want to add real quick here. I pulled up the budget for Speed, the first one.
Yeah,
$30 million budget. How do you go from $30 million to $160?
That's
crazy, man.
Well, they're trying to step it up a notch.
I know, but still, that's insane. Somebody must have got fired.
Oh, for sure. So, also worth noting, and I think I like this because it's the type of film that this is. In 97, we also got movies like Turbulence and Con Air as well. So, and we could talk about it after I get through the rest of my stuff here, but you've got movies like Titanic, Air Force One, Speed 2, Turbulence, and Con Air, like all of these kind of like hijacky kind of and now the Titanic's a hijacking kind of movie, but these like vehicle travel disaster related movies all in 1 year, like that just looking back on it just blows my mind. But related to the lack of return on this one, Rotten Tomatoes has Speed 2 at a 4%. 4. And we have an audience score of 16. So we do a lot of movies where we really try to do our best to make a case for a movie not being great, or when the time of our lives we saw it, we loved it, and therefore we still have a place in our hearts. And it's tough to argue with one that's got a 4%. And a mere 16% audience score, like that's hard. But like we say, that's just kind of numbers. It's everybody has their own opinion, so we'll get into ours here shortly. But this was directed by and I don't know if I go Jean or Jan. I'm gonna go Jan de Bont. He's I believe from the Netherlands. But he also directed the original Speed. So it's great to have him coming back for the sequel. But he also did, following Speed and Speed 2, or maybe between, there was Twister. Then he also had The Haunting in there, and Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Cradle of Life. So he did the sequel to the original Tomb Raider movie.
Okay.
But that is his entire director filmography right there. Those 5 movies, including Speed 2. So mostly cinematography work and some good ones too. Some Spielberg stuff, Minority Report, some other stuff. So he's a talented individual. Just couldn't make the best use of $160 million apparently. We could kind of get into, kind of the talking about the reviews and the 4% and the 16%. I want to know who makes up that 4%. And I think our buddies will help us out with that a little bit, I believe.
Yeah, we have a clip here with our boys, Gene Siskel and Robert Ebert. So let's check it out and see what these guys...
Roger.
Oh, Roger. Sorry. Slip of the tongue.
That's my boy.
So yeah, let's check out what these guys thought of Speed 2 Cruise Control back in 1997.
It isn't a great action movie, but it's a very competent one, and it gets the job done. I liked it.
I liked it, too. I was a little nervous there with the way you started out. I thought you were going to knock this picture. Sandra Bullock, I think, it's very smart that she's here in a more limited role. She's on the run, she's alive and sexy, and Sandra Bullock has said that she's been overexposed ever since Speed, that she said she was boring herself. She thought and I think that there's a conscious effort to limit her in this picture. And also, talk about Jason Patrick for a second. You say he steals the scenes, but he steals them because he's a superior actor. He was in a wonderful film called After Dark, My Sweet, about 7 years ago, and he's just really good.
Yeah, well, he's a good actor. He's good in a new movie coming out later this year called Love and Death on Long Island, too, that was a big hit at the Cannes Film Festival. But, you know, she was the star, really, more than Keanu Reeves, of Speed. So you make a sequel, and you have the same star in the sequel. Why not let her be the star? We want to see Sandra Bullock. I mean, is it good career management to hide someone and to give them smaller roles?
I think it's her sense of herself and how she's. I think that they were co-equals in the first picture.
I don't think she should have that.
I don't like the premise that you're making.
She was the discovery. She was the discovery in the first picture.
That's true.
And it's not good career advice to her to say, keep a low profile. We want to see her. We like her. If we don't want to see her, we won't go to her movies. But if we go to a Sandra Bullock movie, that's who we want to see.
This isn't a Sandra Bullock movie. This is an action picture with two co-stars, Bullock and Jason Patrick, and all three. The ship and the two actors are very good.
But my point is still an excellent one.
Only in your head. Our next movie...
Oh, those two guys.
Yep. I love their rapport. They're not afraid to dish it back and forth to each other a little bit. You know what I mean? I think they're always honest.
Yeah.
Whether their opinions are good or not, that doesn't matter. It's truthful.
I was truly shocked when I watched this and saw that these guys thought this movie was I guess that they liked this movie.
Yeah, I know.
This is one of those movies where I thought like it was just trying to be. I thought they would, say something more along the lines of the first Speed starring Keanu Reeves. It was a very streamlined action picture, and this one's just over the top and sort of cartoony. I really thought that they were gonna think that about this movie, but they both liked it. And didn't you have like a quote of these guys too?
Yeah. Well, I was pulling up the Rotten Tomatoes, and I just noticed like everything is rotten on it. It's 96% would be critics giving it a poor review, and there's one beautiful red ripe tomato sitting there, a diamond in the rough. And who is it that I see on there as the one sole red beautiful tomato from the greenhouse? And it's none other than Gene Siskel. And he says, Speed 2 is the most exciting to date of this summer's big action pictures. So it blows my mind. I don't know what summer looked like for 97, but Air Force One would have been in there, The Lost World. I don't know if they came out in the summer, but man, I think Titanic was at the end of the year. That was before the holiday.
It was around Christmas, I think.
December, probably. I think we saw it on New Year's Eve. Yeah. Going right into 98. So, at this point, they didn't have Titanic to compare this to. So, bear that in mind as you listen to us flap our gums about Speed 2 for an hour. But do you remember, like, while we're on the topic, do you remember Speed 2 specifically? Like, did you see it in the theater or a rental, or do you remember?
I don't remember where I watched it. I remember watching it quite a bit, though. I don't know if it was just a VHS rental or what, but
I think it was a rental for me. At least I'm pretty sure. I do not recall. And the other thing I was thinking about too was Speed 1 R-rated?
I feel like it was. Let me look it up real quick.
Because I feel like if that was R-rated and this was PG-13, which this is definitely, Speed 2 is definitely PG-13. Yeah, Speed 1 is R-rated.
Wow. So maybe that's why they thought they could go with the higher budget, because they were trying to go like a wider audience, wider appeal.
Yeah. Yep.
And they thought they'd have a better return. But yeah, Speed, R-rated. Wow.
And I don't recall... I saw Speed 1, just bits and pieces of it at a friend's house. They were watching it, and I remember it was like the opening elevator sequence. Like in Speed 1, they open it up where Keanu Reeves saves people in an elevator by doing some badass stuff. But in Speed 2, the opening sequence is an ice cream truck chase.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
So you definitely get PG-13 right out the gate, you know. And it's mostly like comedic stuff, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And it cuts between, is it Alex, right?
Yeah, Alex Shaw
on his bike chasing after the ice cream truck, and then
Ducati.
It cuts between Annie, taking the driver's ed course and just failing it abysmally. So
right.
Yeah, there's that contrast of tension, action, and Sandra Bullock's comedic flavor. So
yeah, and it is cool. I love the idea of like bringing her into the movie driving and a driving test. Like, what a great icebreaker to bring you back into the Speed universe, and to kind of let you know that she's the same person that she was in the first movie, and she's been through some stuff, and you get a little dialogue in there to kind of explain where she's at with her relationships and things of that nature that also serves the purpose of discussing kind of the casting of Jason Patric in his role and where she's at with him and that kind of thing. So it does a lot in that first opening sequence to set the stage and to fill you in on the time that's passed since Speed 1. I think it does that successfully because it gives you laughs and action at the same time as giving you that information. Spoon-fed. It's really spoon-fed.
Yeah. Yeah, and the interesting thing about Speed 2 is it does have a very tonal shift than the first Speed, where
right.
This is the age, 1997, we're talking like peak rom-coms, So Sandra Bullock in the mid to late 90s, she was this up-and-coming, actress starring in these romantic comedies. I don't remember.
While you were sleeping.
Yeah, and I don't remember what else she was.
I had it up earlier. She was in the Net. She had A Time to Kill was in there in 96. It was like the big ones. I'd say. Well, Demolition Man was 93.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good role in there, I thought.
Hope Floats. That was a big romantic comedy.
That was the year after Speed 2,
right?
With Harry Connick Jr.
Right,
man. I'd be in Hope Floats with Harry Connick Jr. Man,
yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, but this was
that
time period in I don't know if it was later on or earlier in the year, but My Best Friend's Wedding came out 1997.
Oh man, okay.
The rom-com was, in the height of its heyday at this point in time. Yeah. And there is this tonal shift with this movie, the film starts out with this sort of action set piece with this chase, and then it's revealed that Alex has been, telling Annie that he's, I don't know, what is he, like a beach patrol guy or something like that?
Yeah, like he's like a Pacific Blue, like
right, something a little bit more laid back.
Bicycle patrol person who pulled her over for jaywalking.
Yeah. But then it's revealed that he's like part of like SWAT or, LAPD, and he's always in sort of like some crazy action. And, going from the first Speed movie where she, I think, developed a relationship with Keanu Reeves' character. She didn't really want to have sort of that aspect back in her life, but Alex has been hiding all that from her since the beginning, pretty much. So there's this kind of relationship development that they have to do, and Alex proposes the idea of going on a cruise and taking a vacation. And that's sort of where this movie sort of takes off. And it does have a very sort of rom-com feel about it in the first act, where they're getting on the ship and you're introduced to all these interesting characters on the boat, where this what was one of the other couples that they have this like what is it, like a fat company, or what was that? I forgot what they mentioned their company's name was, but
that'd
quite
be
bizarre.
Like Harvey and Debbie, or I don't know. It was called like I don't know. Fat Watchers or something like that.
But that's the thing about cruises, and I've never been on a cruise.
Fat Busters or something
maybe
like that.
I've never been on a cruise, but I've always hated the idea that you have to like sit at a table with a bunch of strangers and like mingle and sort of like, I don't know. I'd rather just, get my own table and be left alone and not have to like talk about everybody's lives at the table.
It's like banquet style seating.
Yeah. Like 10 people per table.
Right.
But yeah, this film also introduces Willem Dafoe as sort of the main villain of the film. I don't remember his character's name, but
John Geiger.
That's
right.
And I think this might be the first movie I ever saw of Willem Dafoe. I can't recall anything prior to 97 that I had really seen him in. And I know he's in other stuff, but at this point in time, I think this was like when I first saw this movie, I think it was the first time I'd ever seen Willem Dafoe in a movie.
Yeah. I think for me, the earliest movie that I would think that I had seen him in would have been Boondock Saints as the detective. But I didn't see Boondock Saints until like 2006.
Wow.
Like I went to college, and it's like all these people are like, for some reason, Boondock Saints, like when I was in college, it was like everybody's favorite movie to have a poster on their wall. Like, you're not cool unless you have a Boondock Saints poster in your dorm room. And it was all the rage. So, but that can't, that would have been like 7 years or 6 years after that movie came out. But he was a very similar character in American Psycho too. American Psycho is probably the first thing I saw him in, aside from Speed 2. And that would have been right around the time that came out in 2000. So,
right.
But yeah, he's good in everything, man. That if you look at his filmography sometime, I mean, he is a busy dude.
He is.
Like he's right in there with Sandy.
Yeah.
As far as how many movies they pump out, like.
And the thing
impressive.
is, Willem Dafoe has been like nominated for an Oscar or an Academy Award, whatever you want to call it. Like he's been nominated like multiple times in like the last 5 years. Like, I don't know. Like the guy is
he was in Jiminy Glick in La La Wood in 2004. Yeah.
Wow.
It's probably one of those nominations you're talking about.
Jeez. Yeah. Jiminy Glick.
He's an Inside Man. That's a good movie.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Bean's Holiday. Spider-Man 3. I mean, come on.
He's in some of like the most prestige films, like the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Sure.
He's in the upcoming movie The Lighthouse with what's his name? Robert Pattinson. He was nominated for an Oscar in The Florida Project, and there's a couple other ones, but then he's in movies like The Great Wall with Matt Damon, which was just abysmal. And I don't know, like the guy goes from being in some like the best movies of the year to just being in like trash. It's
It
weird.
says he was in John Wick too, but I'm having trouble remembering him in John Wick.
He was one of the other bounty hunters who sniped.
Oh, that's
Remember,
right. That's
John Wick
right.
was getting strangled and he had the plastic bag over his head.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he was the rival bounty hunter before Common came along, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Common. Common's okay. He does okay.
Right.
I liked Willem Dafoe better though.
Oh, me too. Yeah. So, I guess Adam, what is this movie gives Willem Dafoe's character some motives, but one thing.
Yeah. I'm glad we're on the same page. I know where you're going right out the gate here.
Okay.
Yeah, we could get into kind of what this movie's about, I guess, for just to kind of, get it all together here, bring it together. Yeah. So you have Annie and Alex are in this new relationship. They talk about how they barely even know each other. They get on the cruise ship to get away, get to know each other. He's just been through this action, this stuff with work, so it's probably good for him to have a week off or whatever. So they get on the ship, and so Willem Dafoe is apparently like a disgruntled employee whose job was to design these large cruise ships. I mean, I think would you agree?
It might have
been.
They say it was software,
an engineer of some sort, or a software engineer, so he knows the interfaces and the electronic side of the boat.
Yeah.
And I missed, and I don't know what it was, but like, did they say, did he get laid off, or what was the situation with that?
His character gets sick, and then he says he was, fired right around when he got sick. So he's just this like jaded, and it's affected him mentally, and he's mentally unstable, and he essentially becomes a terrorist.
He only has a certain amount of time left, right? And he says the leeches will give him more time. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I believe so. I think he says like something like that. Like they said, I'd have this much time left. You guys, and he talks about like, you guys will give me longer or something, or I'll take care of you. Take care of me. I'll take care of you. It's pretty intense. But yeah, he basically takes over the ship, controls by, doing his thing, sneaking his gear onto the ship in his golf clubs, which that's maybe like one of the most memorable things about this entire movie for me. I will always remember if anybody's like, hey man, I don't know how this would ever come up in conversation in real life, but if anybody walked up to me and was like, hey man, remember how Willem Dafoe got his electronic shit on the boat in Speed 2? I'd be like, oh yeah, he snuck it in his golf clubs.
Right.
So as soon as I saw that again, I was like, oh, that's right. Like, that's so awesome. He's got, all these balls with these ports on them where he can plug little stereo jacks into stereo cables into the golf balls, and then unscrewing the heads off the clubs, and they slide out with digital buttons, and there's wiring lined in through the actual hilt of the clubs, or whatever you want to call it. So anyways, I thought that was really memorable and cool, and I'll always kind of cherish that about the movie. I thought that was fun. That was a fun aspect. But yeah, you're basically just on a ride that's no different than a lot of these other hijacker kind of movies. You've got this badass police officer that's almost like he feels it's his responsibility to go get him. And I thought it was cool. Like, he notices him at the bar, not watching the golf game. Like, you can just get a feel for the keen sense that Alex Shaw has for sniffing out these criminals. You know, he knows it's Willem Dafoe or John Geiger. He knows he's the guy from the moment he's sitting at the bar. You know what I mean? He already scoped him out,
right?
And knows something's off about the guy. So and when they bump into him in the hallway, that he's like, man, like something. The guy for somebody so into golf, he's not even watching the tournament behind him. So, but yeah, the take over the ship, trying to get everybody off the ship, and you've got this almost like Titanic style evacuation that's in there, and then eventually just kind of a trial and error of trying to slow down the ship or steer it away from the oil barge, and nearly crashing into that, and then finally crashing into shore. And it's a wild ride. I'll say as one positive thing about the movie, it does successfully provide you with a bit of a wild ride. You know, it has ups and downs, but it's got a pretty good energy level. It maintains some intensity pretty well.
Yeah,
I would say.
I was surprised after rewatching it yesterday, like how long some of the action sequences are. You know, whether it's some of the sequences where I guess maybe when they're first trying to evacuate the boat and then they're having trouble. I don't know whether it's shaking or what, but what do you call them? The lifeboats are, they're like falling, and people are. I think there's 2 people that fall into the water.
Do you think they had enough lifeboats for everyone on the ship? Or do you think they were equipped like Titanic and only had like a third or whatever it was?
I think, and one of the things I noticed about this movie is it doesn't really give you a good sense of like the cruise ships like populated with a lot of people. Like you only really see maybe the 10 people that they introduce you to in the first like half hour of the movie. It doesn't really give you a good sense that there's like thousands of people on this ship.
Yeah.
And as far as like the lifeboats, I only really got a sense that there was like a couple of them. But I mean, they're only showing us the one side where sort of the main characters we're following are at. But yeah, it didn't seem like there was enough lifeboats for all these people. But as far as like the action set pieces, they kind of dragged out, I thought. But I mean, they're really trying to pump it up with some testosterone and some adrenaline throughout these things, like Jason Patrick's, like going under the boat and trying to like rope the freaking 3-inch thick cable around the sucker. And there's the one scene where it's, right towards the end of the movie where, Willem Dafoe's character has Sandra Bullock's character as hostage, and they're on the plane, and he shoots like some like fishing pole thing onto the plane. Yep. And he's like getting pulled in the water like a freaking skier.
Dude, there's no way somebody holds on when they're getting dragged like that, like with their arms out. Like, no chance in hell you can hold on. Like, you'd have to be like strapped to that thing around your waist, and oh man, that
would hurt like
pretty
hell
gnarly.
Too.
Oh yeah, he would have water coming out his butt.
I just laughed so hard watching that scene, but I guess that's where they spent the money, were these action sequences, man. Like, and some of the cruise ship stuff, it looked like they were using CGI or like miniatures or something like that. So it's got to be where they poured the money into, because I mean, there's not really like an actor in this film that's like I don't think Sandra Bullock was getting paid like $20 or $30 million at this point in time. I think maybe a few years later, possibly. But Jason Patrick, he's one of those actors that, he was in what's the movie? Lost Boys.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah, he was in that movie.
He's
but
the lead in Lost Boys. Yep.
Yeah, he's just one of those actors that like, as well as like Clive Owen, they just never broke out into like being a true star. You know, that like A-list level.
Yeah.
And I've always liked Jason Patric. I mean, I can't recall what I've seen him in recently, but I always thought the guy was a pretty good actor.
I don't think he's bad in this movie. I just think he comes off kind of like
cold.
He is cold, man. Like you want to root for him, and he has these moments in the beginning of the movie, kind of throughout the middle, that he's like about to propose, and then he kind of like hesitates. And if that wasn't in there, I would just assume the guy's like a total asshole. You know what I mean? Like he just has no warmth to him at all. No. And they even if you've ever seen Entourage, even one of the seasons, they have Vince, the main character, co-stars in a movie, like a firefighter movie, with Jason Patric in there, and they play him off in the show like an asshole. And I think that's for comedy. Like that's probably a joke, and maybe it's a common misconception. Maybe people think he's a jerk and he's not, and they're probably, maybe that's like an inside joke kind of thing in Hollywood to do that with what they did in Entourage. But I liked him in this movie fine as a replacement for Keanu Reeves. Like I thought they did really well, and he made the action sequences really, really fun and entertaining. And I thought him and Sandra Bullock together were a charming pairing. You know what I mean? But it's just he could be a little bit better with the romance side, I thought. You know, just kind of like sensing the connection and maybe a little vulnerability. And I know he is kind of like a hard ass cop, like a badass SWAT cop, you know. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, he just didn't quite get me all the way there as far as believing that he's this guy that is having a hard time with the emotional side, proposing and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, up for debate, I suppose.
But we do have a clip here of Keanu Reeves talking about Speed 2 and sort of the reason why he didn't want to do the movie. So let's check out this clip.
You mentioned Speed, by the way, which then there was a sequel to Speed. You were not in the sequel to Speed.
No, I didn't get to be in that.
What do you mean you didn't get to be in that?
Well, I decided not to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
it. No, I mean, I loved working with Jan de Bont and Sandra, of course, and it was just a situation in life where I got the script and I read the script and I was like, ah! It was like, you know, it was about a cruise ship, and I was like, okay, speed cruise ship, and then I was thinking, well, bus and cruise ship, speed, bus, not so fast, but then cruise ship is even slower than a bus, and then I was just like, I love you guys, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, right. And then you would have had to be on a cruise ship, which nobody wants.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there was.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
I've never been on a cruise.
Wow. That's so sad. Yeah, I've been on a couple cruises.
How'd that go?
The first one was great.
Yeah.
The second one was not so great.
What happened on the second one, Jimmy?
Well, there's a thing on a cruise where you're with the same people like all the time for the whole week.
Right.
And there was just one drunk guy who kept referring to his girlfriend as his lady friend.
It's my lady friend.
Which I couldn't take.
What do you mean? Like it just...
He just kept saying he was too old for her to be his lady friend, and it was just weird. And then he sat at our table for dinner every single night.
No matter where you went, he was there.
No, they assign you dinner tables.
Oh, really? There's no, like,
well, I'm sure some cruises
flow?
are different, but at on this cruise, it was really just a hellish experience for 7 days with this man.
What can you... wow.
There's nothing you can...
God, he was pretty funny during all that. That was great.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I mean, it gives you... I think I heard or read in checking into the film that he was offered like $12 million to do it, and then he did Devil's Advocate instead.
Oh, with Al Pacino,
I don't know
right?
if it's like an instead kind of thing. I think it might just be that the Devil's Advocate came out in 97 as well.
Right.
It probably would have been shooting around the same time, maybe. But that's a decent trade-off. Different direction. Definitely a different style of movie, for sure.
Definitely. I mean, I think it was the better career move for the guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, yeah.
That is a very good point, though. Like, you're going with the movie like Speed, and they just, deciding to put it on a cruise ship. That's very interesting.
Yeah. What do you say? Robust.
Yeah.
It's more robust.
But I mean,
that was a funny term.
Those airplane movie hijacking flicks you were talking about, were those prior to this or after? Do you know?
All of those movies came out in 97.
Oh, wow. So So there's no way they could have made another movie. Say Willem Dafoe was doing like the same thing, but on an airplane.
Right.
There's like, it'd probably be way too similar to any of those.
I think like Turbulence, was Ray Liotta.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I mean, so the list was Titanic, Air Force One, Speed 2, Turbulence, and Con Air. They're all in 1997, either a boat or a plane. And it's a lot, man. It's just a lot of
the same.
You know, how do we get off of the vessel, you know?
Right.
It's like somebody's taking it over and it's going down. What are we going to do, you know? But a lot of juicy ones for podcasting, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame we didn't get Keanu Reeves in this movie, but I feel like like you mentioned, I feel like Jason Patric does a good enough job, and he's pretty great in all the action sequences too. Like
to agree with Keanu, I think like the issue wasn't necessarily the casting. The issue is more in the script and just kind of the situational stuff, you know, and we'll get into some of the like ridiculous moments a little bit later, but casting wise, I think it was fine. You know, you have those two, Sandy and Jason, and then Willem Dafoe as the villain. He's a menacing villain. He's Willem
great.
Dafoe. And you also have Tamura Morrison.
That's right.
Who we know. He plays Giuliano, who is the second in command, who eventually takes over as the captain after the captain is tossed off, which we'll talk about.
Yep.
But we know him as Jango Fett from Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 2.
That's right.
So we know and love Tamura Morrison and his his accent. He sounds like he's from maybe New Zealand or maybe South Africa. I'm not really sure.
I think he's from New Zealand.
Yeah,
or
it's
Australia.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
he's great. And then you have Brian McCarty in there, who is the longer, shoulder-length haired Scottish or Irish gentleman who plays Merced. And I just really, really wanted him to just tell us all that he's given it all. He's all she's got, Captain. Like, I really wanted that in this movie, but I understand that was a different time period. And just to clarify, he's not the one in Titanic he's not even in the movie, but I just saw ship, not captain, but he's on the bridge, on the ship, Scottish accent. Give it to us. Like, come on. Like, give us a little bit of some of those lines. That would have been beautiful.
Yeah.
And then lastly, in the casting of the movie, you also had the band UB40.
Right.
That, was featured during the dinner sequences playing I Just Can't Help Falling in Love with You.
Right. Great song.
Beautiful cover. And I thought maybe, I was like, are they going to do Red, Red Wine? Are we going to get an encore performance from UB40? I don't know. Maybe. They could have, you know how in Titanic they have all of the quartet, they go up and
play
their instruments on the
you
side of the boat.
UB40?
Yeah, they have the life rafts loading. It's like, come on, guys, let's play something to chill everybody out. It's like, okay, well, let's get UB40 up there jamming some reggae, you know.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah, you completely forget about the band while all this like mayhem's going on, but still, UB40 is stuck on this boat while all this chaos is going on.
I know, and I think maybe like this movie might have been real, and that's why UB40 must have went down with this ship.
Right.
That's why we didn't hear any UB40 after 1997, probably. Man. So, God bless.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
I don't even know what the UB in 40 stands for. Maybe they're 40-year-olds when they started the band and they're like UB40.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll be back with some of the more terrible moments from the movie. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, Abominators, do you want to share your feedback, thoughts, and opinions, or just tell us what you're thinking? Well, then send us a voice message. Voice messages are an easy way for you to send us audio that might be featured on an upcoming episode of Abominations in Technicolor. And with the latest feature from Anchor, the platform we used to make this very here podcast, it's quite easy. Just call and you have a minute to get the message in. Either use the direct link in the episode description or call in using the Anchor app. We can't wait to hear from you. And now on to the show. All right, so Adam, you want to get into some of the terrible moments from the movie. I think you have a few here.
Yeah, as if we didn't already do that.
Right.
So there's just a lot of stuff in here where it's like, why doesn't he just do this instead? You know what I mean? There's a lot of that stuff going on, but we touched on in this movie, it really just comes down to choices. It's like, interesting choice, Jan. You know, why that particular decision? So the ice cream, is it an ice cream truck or a delivery truck?
I don't remember.
Like,
I think it's
what the hell is?
It's like a delivery truck,
a milk truck,
like a service van.
It's not a good getaway vehicle to be fleeing from law enforcement in. It's very robust, to quote Keanu, to reuse that word. I think it's appropriate. I just thought, like, why have it be that particular truck? And maybe they already had one for a different film and it was a way to save money. I don't know if they were saving money on anything. With it being $160 million.
Exactly.
Though.
Yeah.
God knows what that ice cream truck cost. But the only way that could have been more ridiculous is if they had the music going while he was driving it. And, they both get thrown from the vehicle and he arrests him, and the guy's got he's got a onesie, what do you call it? A one piece, not overalls, but he's got a jumpsuit on, a work jumpsuit, whatever you call that, with a name tag and everything. So he's like working or appearing to be working. Maybe it's a disguise, like he just robbed a bank and then he had like the janitor uniform on. I don't know. But I thought it was stupid. I thought that was ridiculous that this truck is hauling around and he's chasing him on a crotch rocket that can go like 180 miles an hour or whatever, chasing down a frickin' ice cream truck. It's stupid.
It is very stupid.
Next up, Willem Dafoe knocking the captain overboard. Do you recall this scene?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Here's the situation.
You sound so angry.
Dude, I am. Come on. The deck is like at least 10 feet wide, probably.
Yeah.
In the scene. Maybe narrower. Nonetheless, there's these lights on the side of the ship that can apparently rotate over on board, like rotate inward toward the ship, probably so you could change light bulbs or whatever it is. And the captain walks like up to Willem Dafoe, and he's like kind of pinched in where the light could push him toward the edge. And Willem Dafoe's like pushing the light at him, like trying to attack him with something this thing is attached to the boat. So you have this, like, for those of you who watched last week's episode, JB and KG were smart enough to not go over to Tim Robbins, so he was going to stab them and switch their balls with their eyes. And they said, no, let's bail, and they leave.
Right.
They should have, I mean, that's wise. However, the captain of this vessel, he walks right in and keeps talking to Willem Dafoe, and Willem Dafoe, he still goes at him like 4 or 5 times, and the captain keeps coming in closer and closer, and he eventually hits him off the ship. And that moment is just totally unbelievably stupid. Like, It's unbelievable that someone wouldn't try to flee, or at least like back up so that the weapon that's fixed to the side of the ship wouldn't reach him.
Right.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
And you even get a nice pun in there, like, isn't it true that the captain always goes down with the ship?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a weird way to, like, I wonder if that was actually like written into the script, like using that sort of light or that light fixture thing, or if they were just like walking around a cruise ship and trying to find something that's like practical on there that, he could hit the captain with this and then throw him overboard. I don't know. It's just,
is that the moment that he tells us about him being fired or whatever? Is that when he tells them about that?
I don't remember.
I feel like it might be, but I'm not sure. And that would be a way, like, them going back and forth with the light. That's probably when they squeeze that dialogue in.
Okay.
Maybe, but I don't know. It could have been a different one as well. But nonetheless, it is really stupid.
Yes.
Okay, here's the next one. You mentioned it earlier, the lifeboats. So not only did they miss the opportunity of having UB40 play while they're loading the lifeboats, but they have everyone getting in, and I don't know what it is about lifeboat loading, but it never goes well. It doesn't go well in Titanic, and it doesn't go well in, and maybe this is just the status of 1997's lifeboat technology, but so everyone's in the lifeboat, the ship is moving, the lifeboat starts kind of falling on one end, and the winch or whatever is jammed. They can't balance things out, so they're like, don't move, balance your weight, distribute your weight evenly, don't move. And then Jason Patrick then jumps onto the lifeboat after like 10 seconds earlier telling them not to even move, and he somehow is able to jump on it and save Dante, the wonderful photographer who we give less than 2 shits about.
Right.
You know, I couldn't care less if Dante, I'd be like, bye Dante, if he fell, you know, I wouldn't care. What was he charging, like over $30 for prints of his photos?
Yeah.
Like, that's probably pretty spot on for a cruise ship. It's probably more expensive, but what an outrage of a price and that is back in 97.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's 22 years ago, for God's sakes. So, and I realize I'm going on a rant here, but this is Speed 2, people. I mean, try to argue against these points.
Right.
I dare you.
Yeah.
My next thing is just, I get that they've plugged into the dialogue that Willem Dafoe was maybe the designer of the ship's technology and things of that nature, and that's a pretty convenient way to you know, a pretty convenient premise, but he's closing doors and doing things in the ship with his little like wrist keyboard digital device. I mean, when Jason Patrick's chasing him, he's like with the stroke of like 5 keys, he's shutting the door behind him.
Yeah.
And our buddy from our Scottish guy, Brian McCarty, he can't even shut the ballast doors and open them. It takes him like 5 minutes a piece to shut those to stop the area from flooding. So Willem Dafoe's device is super powered, way more technologically advanced than all of the technology on the bridge of the ship. And for that reason, I think that part is pretty stupid.
It is pretty stupid, yeah.
My last one to conclude would be the end crash where the ship takes about how long would you say it takes to crash into shore? How long does this sequence drag on for?
I mean, it's probably like 10 minutes.
It is. It's probably 5 to 10 minutes at least. So, and you get a lot of shots. This was probably one of the bigger budget money shots of the movie, aside from the oil tanker exploding. But the rate at which the ship appears to be moving across as you get the different perspectives.
Yeah.
And then the end shot that you get after it's all over.
Right.
I would have guessed based on the time frame and the distance over time that ship probably traveled like a quarter mile. Yeah. I mean, it's a big ship to be moving at that rate. It would have been like way inland. Mm-hmm. And at the end, it's like, oh, well, it like barely penetrated the shore. Like it's just like
200 feet or 300 feet or something like that.
The ship itself was just kind of barely on shore, like as a whole. It's like the what is it? The keel or the stern? I don't know. The back of the boat was basically just on shore. And it's all over, and you get like, okay, the couple that's in bed together, the lady on a pay phone. There's the guy. I actually kind of enjoyed the guy with the car convertible. Yeah. I kind of like that one. That was actually pretty funny. It kind of reminded me of Con Air when that the dude from Star Trek's car gets like wrecked. You know, so 1997 was not a very good year for convertibles. There was a lot of convertible trashing going on in 97. But that whole sequence, it's like all the crashing that was going on. The buildings looked like they were freaking like made out of popsicle sticks. Like everything's just like, you know what I mean? Like you could tell it was like a model or something that was getting freaking blown up, crashed into. So it was just a bad sequence. It went, if they would have chopped that up and cut it up and made it shorter, it would have been much better. And then we could have moved on to the I don't know, the end sequence. Like meanwhile, I think that's when Willem Dafoe and Sandy are on the double jet ski.
Yeah.
And I've never been on a double jet ski, like a 2-for-1, a double, but it didn't seem like a very smart move for Willem Dafoe. And was that was like the tender boat that was off of the cruise ship? Like they got on that one off the cruise ship?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's almost like this. It's like I don't even know. I've never seen one in person. I think Speed 2 Cruise Control is the only place I've ever seen one before. So but it's almost like this little watercraft that you can drive up to, like jet skis or wave runners into, and it backs them, and you can use both of them to drive it. I don't know. It's kind of a weird little.
Man, was that convenient for Sandy to just be able to reach over and pull that handle and detach. Bye, Willem. You know, it's like, really? Like, all right, I guess. Like, that was easy. They should have that easy button on the boat, too. That was easy. You know, it's like, Jesus. So that was whatever.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. It's just a calamity. And really, I feel like most of that stuff happens in the second half of the movie. Like that whole end thing is just, it's just, you know, you get the not a harpoon, but the spear gun with the rod, and he reels himself in. Like there's that, and how about when he crashes into that oil tanker and gets stuck on the top of that thing? That was pretty. And he's just like, he's had a psychotic break at that point. I feel like he's just like, I was like, Willem Dafoe should have been a Joker at some point in his career.
It kind of reminded me of something out of like Waterworld in a way, you know, like they're on that was it Dennis Hopper? His character's on that like old oil tanker, and I don't know, it just kind of reminded me of something from that. But what they do in this whole like third act set piece is they kind of do a little bit of a double dip. So a lot of the time, you know, the cruise ship is, you know, speeding towards the oil tanker, and they, you know, somehow turn the boat by, they release these like valves, and it somehow turns the ship. Yeah. I'm not really sure how that works, but they avoid the tanker, you know, by scraping it and, you know, bumping the side of it. Right. But then it's not over. You thought they avoided the you know, the disaster there, but then it goes, you know, they go straight into they go straight into, I think it's St. Martin.
St. Martin. Yep.
So yeah, it's just like, it's just this like tension of like them driving towards an object for like the last 45 minutes. So it's just kind of a little bit of the same, you know? Yeah. Or too much of the same, I guess.
So another thing that took me out of the movie big time was, you mentioned feeding the cable into the propeller.
Yes.
So that's fine as an idea. I thought that was like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like, how's he going to get down in there? And of course he's going to get stuck, and it's going to be pulling him into the propeller like Willy Wonka. Like, he's going to get chopped up, you know, the fizzy lifting drink. Propeller's going to chop him up.
Right.
You know, this moment, this Willy Wonka moment. But, that's
Is he gonna
fine.
have to burp to get his way out of there?
Yeah. Jason Patrick's gonna burp, and then it'll allow him to come back up to the surface. That was all fine. Like, that played out just like I thought. I was pissed when Willem Dafoe was just able to like come down there with a gun and shut off the lift thing, and then it came out. But anyways, the problem with that scene is that this boat is moving pretty fast. It's like hauling ass toward shore, or toward the oil tanker, whichever one it is. But afterwards, Jason Patrick is like right there by where you would get out of the water, like where they put him in. And you could tell like they're in still water. Like, they're not moving. Like, in the story, in the movie, the boat is moving, but in the shot,
right,
he's just like sitting in the water still. And I think he's looking at them like, you know, I don't remember what happens after that, but there's a moment there where it seemed like he should be like hanging on for dear life to that rope still. And he's just kind of chilling for a moment. So I think that's when Willem Dafoe takes Sandy hostage. Is that right? Does that sound right? Yeah.
Yep.
And that took me out. I was like, it's a continuity issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, God, we cannot afford to have continuity issues in a movie that's already not doing so hot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that I think, I can't think of anything else like glaring off the top of my head, but that would kind of, I think, conclude my tear on this movie.
Yeah. I mean, It's filled with sort of
rough.
logical problems or, issues with the writing and
Yeah.
I guess what they do with the characters in this movie. And,
Right.
like even Willem Dafoe's character, he doesn't even have that great of a motive, like he's this jaded software engineer that's sick and puts leeches on his body. That's such a weird sort of thing to throw into the movie as like his kind of like his self medication, I guess, that he does, his like body therapy. Just a really bizarre thing. And
it was a little bit strange, like it didn't really, I mean, I guess it lends to the depth of his character slightly, but
yeah,
it's a way where it's a little more sinister while also kind of giving us a feel for like that he doesn't have time, and so therefore he's kind of like broken psychologically maybe. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. But it's been a while since I watched this movie. It's probably been like 15 years. I'd say since the early 2000s. And I used to watch this movie quite a bit. And I never really thought it was, all that bad, but rewatching it after, kind of getting a good perspective of like movies and stuff and seeing other great stuff over the years, man, this movie it's kind of it has some good aspects about it, and I had a decent time watching it, but I mean it's kind of I don't know,
a shipwreck.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, yeah, I guess, I mean, I wouldn't really say it's a good movie by any means, but I think there's some entertaining value in it. But I mean, I don't know. It's
for me, it really made me reflect on and appreciate how good Titanic is. Like that is such a. I mean, that's like saying the sky is blue, but God, that is such a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
The depth of the love story and creating that ship and the score, like James Horner just kills it. And I don't even think it's fair to compare the two, but in the music in this movie, we talked about UB40. There's a fun little like party jam that they play as they like introduce the cruise ship when they first get on the boat and get changed into their sunwear and all of that, and they're jamming. The band's jamming. That was fine. That was cool. But the score, like the actual like music throughout, it seems kind of repetitive and lacks character, and there's not a lot of the music of this movie's not very good either. But yeah, being that it took place on a ship, it just made me appreciate like what a perfect movie Titanic is.
Yeah,
it is so good.
Yeah, and I mean that was the number 2 box office film of all time up until Avengers Endgame sort of dethroned James Cameron's movies as the highest one. So yeah, I mean, it's
perhaps Speed 2 had a role in Titanic's success.
Maybe they probably watched.
Everyone was like, they're like, I did not like Speed 2. Here's a real ship movie, and they're like, that's how you do it. I'm going to go see it 4 more times.
Probably. I mean, I just still can't believe that's the most surprising thing about doing this whole episode to me is finding out the budget for this movie was $160 million. Like, that's just crazy to me. I mean, going from a $30 million budget for the original Speed to 160 is just ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah. Titanic's budget was $200 million. A mere $40 million more.
Right. It probably made about 20 times more.
Yeah, it made $1.5 billion. Or no,
No, I made more than that.
No, 2.187. Sorry. I was just looking at the foreign. Foreign was 1.5 billion.
Yeah, that's crazy.
660 or so domestic.
Yeah.
So I had no idea we were going to compare Speed 2 to Titanic, but that's what we do here on the Abominations podcast.
I mean, they have more in common than you might realize.
Yeah, and they were both 97s, which is a total shame for Speed 2, unfortunately. But the other thing we do here is we try to shed light on these things, and I want to know, like, can you come up with any redeeming qualities of this movie? Like, there has to be a reason why we wanted to take the time to talk about it. Like, what is there anything good in this movie that you can take away?
I mean, I sort of liked the premise that it was on a cruise ship. You know, I've never been on a cruise, so it's kind of like interesting watching other people go on. It's like there's certain things that you sort of want to do, but you don't really have it really in you to go do them. So you just like watch other people do them, you know? And I feel like that's sort of me with like a cruise ship. I don't really want to go on a cruise, but I'm fine with like watching other people sort of participate in being on a cruise, I guess. Right. But I mean, I like Sandra Bullock. I find her to be charming. Yeah. I kind of thought she was a little bit annoying in this movie, but she's really sort of the anchor of this movie, I guess. Yeah. And Willem Dafoe, I think Willem Dafoe is the standout in this movie. He's pretty eccentric, you know, all the leeches and stuff. I kind of find that sort of weird and interesting. But yeah, I mean, I like Sandra Bullock in the movie. I like Willem Dafoe. And there are some cool action sequences in the film. So yeah.
I thought the explosion at the end, like as they get DJ from Mortal Kombat to drive the boat away from the explosion.
That's not DJ.
Or not Mortal Kombat.
That's not DJ from Mortal Kombat.
It'd be DJ from Street Fighter if it was, but
oh yeah, it's not him either. So
I'm just joking. But they get that dude to drive them away, and there's some funny banter between him and his girlfriend and what's going on in this situation. I love it when he takes his boat and he's like, no way, man. You know, it's like, you ain't taking my boat.
Yeah.
But I love that sequence. Like that explosion was badass. That was so cool to see. You know, every action movie, we want to see either our hero like walking or running and diving, like laying out as the explosion happens behind them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple options. There's walking like a badass with the explosion and you don't even look. You don't even react. You know, the explosion. I knew it was coming. I'm badass. Then there's like the just narrowly escaping. And then there's the kind of the vehicle escaping, or you could be like Arnold and you could like be driving right out of it. You know what I mean? Like Arnold in T2 or the Millennium Falcon, like flying out of the Death Star or whatever. I thought that explosion was awesome. And that probably cost a lot of money.
It probably did, yeah. Yeah. I mean, stuff like that, you only really get one take. So
that's right.
That's pretty epic oil tanker explosion.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock, she's great. I mean, I like going back and kind of seeing the young Sandra Bullock in this movie.
Yeah,
maybe I need to watch Speed 1 again as well, but she did well with being that kind of like flighty, you know, kind of like seeing her in distress. She's a nice damsel in distress in these types of movies. I thought it really did well for her career, and they're, you know, these big budget blockbusters. I don't think it hurt her one bit to be in a crappy movie like this. I think she did just fine, as we all know. But it's a shame though. Jason Patric, this was a good one to swing for the fences on, and we didn't see a whole lot of him after that. So we'll have to just enjoy them in the Lost Boys.
Right.
And,
yeah.
Jam the soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, I think we can wrap it up there as far as Speed 2. Next week on the show, we'll be reviewing A Night at the Roxbury. Really looking forward to that one with Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan. Adam,
that's right.
You really excited for that one?
Oh my God, my skin is tingling right now thinking about it. It's gonna be something.
Yeah, one of the
Butabi brothers are gonna be back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you just grab my ass?
Oh man, one of the great comedies of the '90s. Really looking forward to that one. But for Adam and myself, we'll see you next week.